Okay, this is FER. It looks like I've charted it before. This is the daily chart. So we can see where a real high volume bar is here that's closed well off its low. The next bar closing well off its high, should I say, closing off its low. So it's an example of smart money selling on up bars into some announcement or some euphoria. And they need that generally. They need that buying euphoria to it gives them the opportunity to offload their holdings for a profit rather quickly, and that's why it's collapsed as it has. I've marked some high volume bars here off as support resistance. I marked this one off here when they started buying properly. So it's fallen there, so there's distribution in there. It's come back, it's found some support. I see volume kicking in on the down bar, closing off the low, and that's allowed it to go up the next bar. Then they test it, and it's gone up, but then it's up thrust as it's catching holders from the trapped holders in here, and that's knocked it back. It's tried a couple of times to get back in there, it's failed. Come up, high volume down bar, next bar closing higher, so must have been some buying in that bar. It's shot up again, high volume coming in, but again it's catching resistance from trapped holders to the left, and we've got a higher low as well coming in, a lower high, should I say. We have a lower low, and then it's just rolled. There's not a lot of activity here, not a lot of professional activity, because volume is the activity of the professional money, and when we have low volume, it's showing us there's not a lot of activity there. So there's not a lot of selling pressure on the last bar, but it's not really telling us. And we've got a lot of background weakness, all our volume bars here, and here, and here. We'll try to upthrust here, even here. When was that this week? It's a bit hard. It's very erratic because it's not, it's a penny stock and not a lot of volume, but it's just showing, that's what sticks out to me. That's why it's knocked it back where it is, and it's sort of trading in a range at the moment, flip-flopping about. As it tries to go up, the selling comes in and knocks it back. So I think your last support there is at the bottom of this bar at the 1 cent. So that might be an area worth looking at. But the 1 cent, when it did support there, was at a lower low. So it's nothing to say can't make another lower low after that. So we'll need to have a look at when it reaches that area, if we get some sort of bullish response or some bit of buying coming in. But yeah, at the moment it's just looking. It's not looking particularly strong, other than it's found some support at the 1 cent and the possibly the 1.1 cent. So that's FER. This is ERJ, Energy Limited. This looks like it's had a parabolic rise and parabolic dramatic collapse, and it's just formed a bit of a basing pattern down here. Here's the last lot of high volume right there, so that's kind of stopped the down move, even though it was an up bar. If I mark the high and low of that bar, or the close even, and the high, that sort of trapped the price in there as well. And this one's a high volume bar as well, so you can mark the high of that bar. So it's come down all the way down to the bottom of this bar. I can see there's very little selling pressure, and then it's started some volume kicking in here. So we'll try and zoom in here. Had some high volume kicking in here, and I've pushed down further into this bar. Not a lot of selling pressure now in the body of this bar here, so that might act as a bit of support. Come up again, test, but then they up thrust. That's up thrusting on the close of that bar. This is the weekly chart too, by the way. That up thrust is confirmed by price going down, albeit on high volume. So that's not really acting that strong either. It's got away from that bit of a channel there. We take that pivot high and that pivot high. That's sort of where it's finding resistance at the moment. But anyway, I think your support there is the 1.4. It's high volume down, closed off the low, so a bit of buying in the bottom. But you know, this was your last bit of bullish response. Well, there's a high volume up bar that's got knocked back, but while it's holding the low of that bar at 1.6, then perhaps there might be a bit of accumulation happening there if it can hold that, and that might just keep knocking it. That, you know, it could keep trading within the range of that bar until they're done accumulating, if that's what's happening. As we get to the low here at the 1.4, we see not a lot of selling pressure here. We've got high volume coming down and high volume again, but we weren't going any lower. We didn't close any lower. And the selling pressure came right off, and it's pushed down further again on less pressure. It hasn't been able to get lower than our initial high volume bar there too much. It's gone down as low as the 1.3. Then it's kicked up. Yeah, it's not. It's just flip-flopping around at the bottom there at the moment, I think. It's a bit hard. You can't put an uptrend channel on it because there's nothing really there to look at. I mean, I suppose we could try a pitchfork. I'll try, but that's not telling me anything other than it's too weak to go back to the median. So that'll normally mean it'll take out that previous pivot. So got a bit of support there. So we got some high volume kick in here as it's tried to go lower. High volume kicked in, then not a lot of volume, but they're not particularly strong bars either. But normally if you fail to reach a median, it takes out the previous pivot, so I'd expect that to come lower again. But I'd be looking at the weekly chart because there's not a lot of volume there at all compared to well, there has been this last week was a bit of volume coming down, but that confirms the weakness of this upthrust bar here. So that's, yeah, it's a bit hard to judge with the penny stock but I would expect that to come lower again, and it's just sort of trapped within this range still from this original bar here, and I think we want to see it clear that area completely and then come back and retest on light volume. That's how I would be looking at it, or at least clear this lot of high volume here that's just come in recently at the 2.7 and come back and retest so we can get some sort of uptrend line. I sort of got one there that's breached, so we can get some sort of uptrend line that we can work with. We don't have one at the moment, so you know, it's still making lower highs, lower lows. It hasn't been able to make a higher high. It's missed this last pivot high here. It has made a higher low compared to these lows, but then it's given us a weak bar at a lower high again, so we're still making lower highs. So it's still acting a bit weak at the moment, but I think it's trapped in this range here, and your risk is your 1.4, I think, possibly even your 1.3. That's where you know, that's probably where your risk is at the moment. So that's ERJ, sorry. Okay, this is NAV, and I charted this a while ago. What did I say? So I've got this high volume down and it's gone nowhere. So the next volume is high volume up but gone nowhere. High volume up, not gone anywhere. Well, it's gone from 2 to 2.6. You can't really say that, but there. It's been in this very narrow range, hasn't it? Maybe I should just get. So high volume down, next bar up, So result of that supply is we break down further, then not a lot of selling pressure, and we zoom back up on high volume, get lower volume down, then we get an up bar on no demand, but it's not confirmed because the next bar closes higher. Like that's trading in a very tight range there, and I would suspect that's accumulation happening there or something happening there because it's not going lower. It's not going higher either, but it's not going lower, so that's being capped. But the supply, are we in fresh new ground? We are a bit, aren't we? So the supply isn't really knocking the price back. And it's knocked it back to 2 cents. And then it's this last recent move up, it's holding within the top of this bar. That's what I wanted to see before going long. We haven't seen that. It's been a long time, isn't it? So I think there's accumulation happening there, but it looks very manipulated, doesn't it? It looks like it's just sitting in that tight range, being capped in the top there, capped in the bottom. So I think there's a bit of I would suspect that's accumulation happening there because the result of that supply coming in, there's high supply, high volume coming in, that price is staying within that range. It's not dropping. So it's not really dropping. When you look at it, it's quite narrow spreads compared to what it used to get. I might just have a look at the daily chart and just see what have we got here. Here we got high volume, got cracking back up, and I've traded it before. High volume, but nothing happened. No, nothing happening. It comes down, no selling pressure at all. Then we suddenly get all this high volume kick in again, and it come back down into this bar, and it's being supported. That's very unusual, isn't it? That looks very manipulated to me. But it's not going lower. So and this high volume, and then push lower. There's no selling pressure, within the body of this bar. So, and they've been doing that for a long time. I mean, they did do some as it tried to break out there. It's been knocked back straight away. This is the daily chart. And it's been in this pattern here, a bit of a basing pattern, for months. And how long that continues, that's not giving us a clue as if that's going to continue or do the same, because we've got all this volume kicking in and it's just staying within this tight range. So I would have to say that's in a period of accumulation because the price is being supported for the most part. It swings a little bit, but for the most part the price is being supported at the 2 cents there. So that's your risk, I think. And it's being capped, there's no question about that as well. But it's not dropping, especially in this last lot. It's held at 2.5 and it's just trading in this tight range. So, well, your risk there is 2 cents. It's at 2.8, so that's what's that? 60%. So that's, but the longer it stays at these lows in this basing pattern, then the more accumulation can happen, and the harder it can run when it decides it wants to run. And we've got a couple of gaps. Well, that gap was filled, but we got the one there at the 11.5. I'm going to get rid of all this because it doesn't really apply anymore. We've got let's have a look here. Let's mark the high volume bars. Mark the close of the bar there. So that's been capped right there. High volume up. It didn't go anywhere. So it's been capped there, especially in the high of that bar. It's come down. There's not a lot of selling pressure. That was from, what's that, 3 cents? Well, from a close of 3 cents or a high of 3.1 cents to 2 cents. So it's capped there. It's come off. Not a lot of selling pressure. Then it's had a big boost up, but again being capped. But it's come off, and there's not a lot of selling pressure within the body of this bar here. So I think we really need to get above this bar and test. But I suspect when it does move, it probably can move quite violently, because I think there's been some accumulation. It's been going through a period of accumulation, and when it does move, I think it can move hard. But ideally, what you'd like to see is for it to break that 3 cents or the 3.1 cents, at least the high of this bar here, and come back and test a low volume test on top of there, and then away you go. So that's what I'd be looking at. You've got the high there that you can target as well, which is 5.6, which is that gap there. You've got a gap up there at the 11.5 cents. So yeah, it's until it breaks that, then because you don't know how long this is going to continue for. So I'd be waiting for it to make a move, break through there, and retest, and then away she goes. But you got this bit of a saucer shape happening at the bottom here, so that's looks like accumulation to me. And we just got to wait till they open the doors and let it out, and they won't do that till they're finished accumulating. Once they've finished this accumulation process, then they'll open those doors and let it run, and it'll break out, and they'll retest this area at the 3 cents once it's broken out, and then away she can go. But in the meantime, it's not doing a lot. I wouldn't have the patience to buy there and just watch it do nothing for months on end. So it's up to you. If you think it's worth $1 and it's worth investing in, I think the risk there is 2 cents. I think they supported the 2 cents there. So yeah, it's up to you.